Hi, my name is Paul Vasey, and I am honored to be here today. So thank you very much for the opportunity of speaking and sharing what I'm doing. So I want to talk to you a little bit about saving the planet with plastic. I mean, in some ways, that's a bit crazy. Everyone's going, no, you can't have plastic. Plastic is the devil, this, that, and the other. You know, we've got to go with paper and soy and everything else. But I just want to put a case for plastic for you. So just a little bit about me before we get into all that, so you can start finger pointing at me. My name is Paul Vasey. I was a former educator, and now I'm kind of like a social entrepreneur. And I've kind of fallen into this journey of trying to be an advocate for the environment and trying to bring education and everything else as my way of making a difference in the world. So this is a little bit of what I think, and I would love to have a discussion with any of you. I would love to learn more about what you're all doing and maybe finding ways that we can all support one another. Right then, so how did I get into this? So I was born in Africa, and every boy's dream basically when you're a young kid is we all used to camp, and we all used to, well, my group certainly would be on our BMX bikes and that, but we would always love to look at the animals and the birds and everything, and we'd always go camping. And then every holiday we would go to a game reserve where we would spend our holidays, and that was just heaven for me. I just love that. So a lot of the kids my age growing up, we actually would want to be game wardens and live in game reserves, and because we could spot every single animal, we could look at the footprints in the sand, and we just knew what was going on, and we actually loved what we had. So that's kind of how my introduction to nature and to the planet. And then later on, I met a guy called Mark Crawley, and he's a Kiwi inventor, and he's been inventing some really good stuff for years. And one of the things he's doing now is he's working more so in plastics. Well, he's actually always worked in plastic, but he's doing some really good stuff that actually will save the planet. And he is a massive advocate for this just through his technology, where he's basically developed a cup which will allow you a self-insulating cup, which can be, instead of you having a coffee cup or you getting a cup for milkshakes or whatever, and you use it once and you throw it away. This is a plastic cup basically which keeps your liquids hotter or colder for longer because it's insulated, so you don't need a double cup or a sleeve, so there's less imprint, less footprint on the earth for us just to continue what we're doing. Plus, there are trickle-down effects of his technology. So I'm really excited about that. So he's created this plastic cup, and I ended up getting involved with it. And I've been following the journey about this, and I'm just blown away with what people can do. And then if you actually start looking at the end result of, hey, I want to help the world, how can I do that? But then what does everybody do every day that we can tweak just to change what people do or their perception that can have a massive imprint on the world? And there's a lot of people out there doing great stuff, and this guy is just one of them. So the more I read, the more I realized that actually there's a huge problem out right now. So here's a few things for us to think about in terms of the plastic world. So right now, 1 million plastic bottles are purchased every minute. And that's crazy. Every minute, there are 1 million plastic bottles bought somewhere in the world. In America, there are 50 billion water bottles bought each year, which means that it's an average of 13 bottles per month per person in the US, which is absolutely crazy. And it's estimated that 4 trillion plastic bags are used worldwide annually. So when there's all this consumption, where does all this plastic go? Only 1% of plastic bags are returned for recycling. And there's 500 billion disposable cups. And I'm talking about these cups that you'll get at McDonald's or Starbucks or Burger King, anywhere there's fast food, where you get a soda or a coffee or a milkshake or something in there. They're used once and thrown away. 500 billion cups are used and thrown away every single year. So if you want more facts of where I'm getting these from, here you are, plastic pollution facts, plasticoceans.org. It's all there. So another thing, I want you to visualize a garbage truck, you know, the ones that take your trash away every week with your bins. Now you imagine one of those full of plastic bottles, cups, everything plastic. One of them has been emptied into the ocean every minute. So by the time I finish this presentation, there might be 20, 25, 30 garbage trucks that have just emptied all their plastic somewhere in the world into the ocean. It's quite sad, really. And by 2050, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than there will be fish. So these fish are eating the plastic. We eat the fish. We get the plastic in us. Also, the plastic kills the fish. So it's not a great day for fish because we're killing the fish and the plastic's killing the fish. So it's not a great day. And less than 9% of all plastic is recycled. So that's scary. We're throwing stuff in all the time, but yet there's hardly anything being recycled. So there are a number of things we can actually be thinking about here. Well, one is you can go down the industry route and you can fix that. And two, you can do this in parallel. And two, the other one is the consumer in terms of what can they do differently to actually help the planet while industry is working to help the planet. And we have to do that. And if you don't do one or the other, if everyone's recycling, but everyone's like putting all their trash in the different bins, but and then we're delivering it to the recycling plant and they're not recycling it and it's going straight in the ocean, there's no point. And vice versa. You get all these recycling plants, but then no one's splitting up the different plastics at home or buying less plastic at home to be able to reduce the footprint in the earth. So we've got to work with industry and consumer together. So just something for you, and this staggered me. The biggest thing for plastics is actually cigarette butts. So right down here where we've got cups and lids, we've got plastic bags, which we throw a lot away, and drinks bottles. We throw a lot of those away, but the biggest one is cigarette butts, which absolutely blew me away because there's actually plastics in the cigarette butts, along with a lot of toxic chemicals. So, and there's also food containers as well. So there's the styrofoam ones and all those kind of things. So this is this is quite scary on how much trash we create, how much stuff we just throw away, where there has to be better solutions for all. So, for example, are paper straws even sustainable? I mean, we talk about, oh, great, paper straw, yay, you know, we're going to save the world with paper straws, but, or even bamboo or soy or aluminium, we're getting all these straws and cups and everything with all those. But whenever we introduce a new fad or something like that, it's already playing around. In order to bring in more paper straws and paper cups, you're messing around with supply and demand of all the lumber that's being used right now because you're going to have to cut down more trees to make that. So now all of a sudden, wildlife is lost because you're shrinking the amount in the Amazon rainforest and all these other rainforests, you're cutting them down, more lumber is used, prices go up, things just don't work. So when we bring other things in, so for example, if you do soy, well, by planting soy and you're using it for a different purpose, now there's less land and farming land for food. So you're fighting with supply and demand of products. And so there's this big issue. So, and also like with paper plants and all that, in order to recycle these cups and straws, you have to have specific plants that can do that. So yet there's not enough of them around to do that. So we have to get recycling set up to actually keep up with demand with recycling. But yet what we don't realize is that through naivety of the consumer, you think that you're using compostable or paper and it's easy to break down. You can't just break it down at normal recycling plants. You just can't. They have to have specific recycling plants set up. And these are things I've learned while through this journey. So what's next? Well, quick solutions. So one of the things I believe that we can actually remove color from packaging. So you'll see that the top would be a normal drinking coffee cup. This would be Mark's cup. But what he's done is he's taken away the colorant. So when you recycle plastic at the moment, there's a lot of plastic. When you recycle it, well, basically, if you imagine there's plastic's made up of loads of pellets, right? Like look like bits of rice, if you like. And you could have 100 pieces of rice in your hand, which are plastic pellets, and one of them could be red. It's like the sock scenario when you're done your laundry and you've left a red sock in your whites and everything else, it all comes out a different color. Well, that's the same with this. So when you're trying to recycle plastic, it comes out in different mottled colors. So then no one wants this plastic because there's no real desire for it, because they want to start from scratch with a clear color plastic which they can color themselves. But what if we actually had to remove the colorant from the plastic packaging? So with that, we now have a clear plastic cup, no colorant. So now that becomes easier to recycle because more people just want the plastic cups. The more want to use the more plastic that's been recycled because it's ready to be reused. What happens if we actually reduce the number of types of plastic? So now it becomes easier to actually recycle. So when you're doing your sorting, that maybe you have 2 or 3 or 4 different types of plastic, that's it. Now all of a sudden, recycling becomes more efficient and cheaper, and there's more incentive for companies to do that. But remember, so you've got the colorant taken out. You can also just label the cup or the bottle or whatever. But the point is that can burn off or the ink can dissolve, but you're starting with a clear piece of plastic to reuse. Because right now people are starting to use plastic, the mottled stuff, you're using plastic where you're not really bothered about the final outcome. So plant pots, furniture, they're starting to put it into roads as well, where they're just adding it in to build it up, if you like. So one of the things we can also do is we can encourage to repurpose and reuse some of the plastic. So how would you use your cups again? Would you use them for different things? Now you've got your cup. Now, could it be used as a toy for kids, or could it be put on a desk and put your stationery in there? Or could you make ice lollies out of it? Or, would you use it for fruit? Or what would you do with that cup or any plastic? How can you do it? Repurposing it. And if it's a similar kinds of plastic, it's easier to reuse. Now, there's one new thing I'm really excited about, is a company called Digimark. And this is another way where you've got the clear plastic. And what they do is they blow a barcode or emboss a barcode onto for example, onto this cup. And what that would be is this barcode that you no longer need to print a barcode on there when you're at, when you're at a store and you're going to pay and they scan that. Well, you could actually have this embossed into or blown into the plastic. So then the readers actually read that. So you don't need a scanner, barcodes on it, because it's actually in the actual product. So that's one thing they can do. The other thing is, if you've got these barcodes on, as they're in the recycling plant, they can read which plastics they are and they can just send them to the different bins ready for recycling. So now there's sorting going on. So this is technology that's been derived from pressure that is needed to save the planet, which I think is absolutely wonderful stuff. So there's loads of plastic out there right now, and we're starting to think about repurposing and reusing plastics. Well, why don't we mine plastic? There's enough plastic in the oceans. There's enough plastic in landfill. We've got that much plastic. Why don't we actually mine that plastic and break it down and actually reuse it? And as we get that amount of plastic under control, we can then start looking at more, the more clear plastics as well, and then getting on top of it and maintaining that. So we're reducing the footprint and all the less plastic that's actually going into the oceans and into landfill. Also, plastic companies, now they're starting to do a lot of stuff. So fantastic. They're already bringing out new resins all the time. That means that there are better plastics that are going to be around, which can be compostable, recyclable, they can break down and all those things. So the technology is getting better with the plastics as well. So as that happens, it's going to become easier to recycle. Now, if you go on one side where the companies are getting their act together with the resins, you've got Digimark putting all the marks on, you know, the barcodes within the plastics on the finished products everywhere. So that's been sorted. And then we're training the consumer to actually start thinking about separating the plastics, or just being more, what's the word? Just being more thoughtful and more purposeful about using, you know, disposing of rubbish and using packaging and everything else. That's how we can reduce the footprint of the planet. So talking about recycling plants and ways to recycle. But I like to also think about, I think the biggest way, and with my educational background, I think the best thing we could do is actually educate the kids, educate future generations. You know, you do it through Pester Power. I think for me, I think kids are probably the best lifeguards and lifesavers and jailers of the world, because they are the ones that can tell a parent no. They're the parents that can guilt parents. The kids can guilt parents into making decisions, and they're the ones where their minds are open and you can tell them that they can save the planet. They're less hardened, they're more caring. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to, through Meson technology, we are going to start looking at educating kids. And what we're going to plan to do is we've created some characters. Here's Eddie and here's Izzy. They are ice cubes, and they go around the world teaching kids about recycling and litter and the various environmental issues. But we're able to do that in a fun way that's not too screechy, not too shouty, not too preachy. But it's also through the lives of Eddie and Izzy, two ice cubes that go in the cup, and they need to stay cool in their water. Otherwise they melt, but they're able to go all over the world. So this will be fun, and we're going to be doing all sorts with these guys. So we really want to run with the 4 R's, and these are the 4 R's that have actually been used in the plastic world for a while now. We should be looking to refuse to buy single-use items. So whenever you buy something, you should always be thinking, well, when I use this, I would love to be able to use it again. Hopefully that technology is coming, and with Mark's cup, we might be able to replace some of the coffee cups, because they'll be sturdy enough that you may want to use them again rather than throwing them out. We want to reduce the amount of plastic in the world. So we're talking about buying less disposable items. So if you're refusing and you're looking after it, you don't need them as often. We're looking at doing that. Starbucks has been doing that for years, where they've been trying to get them to, if you bring your own cup in, you get a discount on coffee. Supermarkets have been doing it with plastic bags. Bring your own plastic bags in, you save money. You've had it on cans and bottles, where if you return the can or the bottle in California, you get 5 cents per bottle, you know, so, or per can. So there's things we can do as incentivizing behavior. We also want to recycle, which I've been talking about, and we want to repurpose. So this would be a great one where we can start telling people, hey, you know what, instead of buying this, you've already got these items in your house, why don't you do this? And in the UK, a term where people will know is something like Blue Peter. Something I made earlier, you know, they're always telling you, oh, if you've got all these items, you can make something out of what you already have. And I think we can actually do that. And I think we could actually get the kids to start doing that with items, plastic items around the house. So ultimately, industry has to change while consumers change as well. So you have to work hand in hand. And that's hopefully how we're going to try and make a difference with this. So we want to educate children for pester power, as I was talking about. And one of the ways we do it is, yes, we have those toys, but then we also have this. We also have a weekly cartoon which will go through the different issues. So this one is fish swimming and they get caught in plastic, and there's Eddie and Izzy in the cup that's going, and they're trying to go to the North Pole. But yeah, it's just the plastic. So kids can start looking at what the issues are, and we will provide worksheets and workbooks and word searches and puzzles and all those things, just to make learning fun without it being screechy. So anyway, so that's it. That's all I have for you today. So my name is Paul Vasey. Check out meson.technology. There's my email, paul.vasey@meson.technology. I do apologize, I left the dot out. Follow Eddie and Izzy on Facebook, and we would love your support, and or even just to watch our journey as we go to save the planet through plastic. Thank you very much.